Hi everyone, it's Rob Ryder on December 21st, 2016. I believe that would make this a Wednesday. Guarding your civil liberties with a constitutionally recognized organized militia, or putting 400 years of history to work for you. Question mark, right? Can we make them do it? I'm going to show where it says that we should be able to, and well, that's what this video is about, just to show that, hey, things are written that we should be going to certain people and saying that our civil liberties have been violated. And again, I am Rob Ryder. Court of Record, AOL.com is my email address at COURTOFRECORD at AOL.com. 616-712-6179 is my phone number. Please don't abuse it. But basically, hey, who may file a complaint? Well, anyone. Anyone. Let me say it again. Anyone who believes that some action by the Department of Army or one of its members has infringed on his or her privacy or civil liberties may file a complaint alleging a violation of civil liberties. That's a pretty wide-ranging statement, and let's just see what it might mean for us. But first, if you can, I really do, I need you to donate. Please help a brother out. My PayPal account is my daughter's name, or email address, I should say, which is ashleyrytlewski@gmail.com. That's ASHLEYRYTLEWSKI@gmail.com. If you had a credit card and you sent me an email to courtofrecord@AOL.com, basically I'd say, hey, I have another PayPal account that I can use a credit card, but I need to send you an invoice. But I haven't done it yet. I mean, I haven't actually ever done it ever. I just believe I can. So that would be a credit card. And snail mail, hey, that works too. Put it in the mailbox, please. I appreciate them all. It allows me to do this instead of getting a real job, and I don't want to have to do that anymore. I'd rather look for the solution. So, at the end of the day, what we're hoping to do is, because I really wanted to make sure I pointed this out early, right? What I read, and all this that we're going to talk about, is that what you need to do is state a claim upon which relief can be granted. Keep that in mind. You need to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. So what is that? You just get it figured out in your head right away. State that your civil liberties have been violated. Right? If you state that your civil liberties have been violated, that's a claim that if they have, well, relief can be granted. We can restore your civil liberties. They can. Right? So, if I was writing something then, because everybody wants to know, well, what's the magic words to use? I don't know that there are any, well, there are no magic words, but I would try to write as little as I could and provide some evidence and get an investigation going, and they'll figure the rest out once they get going. It could be as simple as this then. Right? So this is the words on some form I'm going to give to somebody as a complaint with some other piece of paper of documentary evidence that I'm going to speak about in 3 short paragraphs. Take judicial notice that I, Robert Allen Rytlewski, state that my civil liberties protected by the Constitution of the United States Bill of Rights are being violated. I have included a copy of a, what is it, summons, notice, demand, warrant, whatever it is, that denies my Fifth Amendment right to due process. Some individual, using a fictitious name for himself, an alleged client has begun a simulated legal process under color of state law in an attempt to extort my life, liberty, and private property. For the record, my full legal name is Robert Allen Rytlewski, and in this name only, may I sue or be sued. The use of any other pseudonym, nickname, legal fiction, or the like as a substitute for my full legal name is a violation of my civil liberties, and I ask for an investigation and complete remedy in equity. Now, I might write some more, right? But you get the gist, right? You're going to have been served a summons or some kind of notice or debt collector or whatever it is. And, you know, once you get over the panic and you look at it and say, well, whoever sent it to you isn't using their full legal name. And it's probably, you know, and most things we're talking about, some attorney who says he's representing some plaintiff, and that plaintiff doesn't really exist. Because if you take that name just the way he says it's his plaintiff, it's supposed to be their full legal name. This is legal, right? Everything is in full legal name. You have one legal name to use in legal matters. And if that isn't the name being used, well, then it's not legal. And that's what we're talking about. It's a violation of due process. And an attorney is an officer of the court, always considered in court, and so the very first piece of paper he sends to you is the beginning of the legal process. And so we want to say, well, that's wrong because that isn't my name. He isn't using his real name, and the plaintiff doesn't exist. Here's the evidence, which is the piece of paper, and the complaint that you need to write up to send to him. And so, we don't need to point out 20 different things. I'm telling you just need to point one, done right, and, the problem should go away. And okay, so, but where does all this come from? Let's go look at some evidence is. Let's see what the National Guard has to say about themselves. Okay, how we began. We recognize December 13th as the birthday of the National Guard. On this day in 1636, the first militia regiments in North America were organized in Massachusetts, based upon an order of the Massachusetts Bay Colony's General Court. The colony's militia was organized into 3 permanent regiments to better defend the colony. Today, the descendants of these first regiments of the Massachusetts Army National Guard share the distinction of being the oldest units in the U.S. military. December 13th, 1636, thus marks the beginning of the organized militia, and the birth of the National Guard's oldest organized units is symbolic of the founding of all the state, territory, and District of Columbia militias that collectively make up today's National Guard. Okay. How can the Army National Guard be older than the Army? Well, that's because our ability to recognize December 13th, 1636 as the organization date of the oldest Army National Guard units is based in law. That's how, because the law says so. The Militia Act of May 8, 1792 permitted militia units organized before the May 8, 1792 to retain their customary privileges, whatever that means. The provision of the Militia Act was perpetuated by the Militia Act of 1903, the National Defense Act of 1916, and by subsequent law. Well, that's how they can do it, because the law says they are. And as we'll see, they got dual functions, and we're gonna use their functions. Now, here's an example of a procedure for filing a civil liberties complaint. There's more than one way to do it. Who may file a complaint? Well, as you saw, anyone who believes that some action by the Army, Department of the Army, or one of its members has infringed on his or her privacy or civil liberties may file a complaint alleging a violation of civil liberties. Well, under Title 10, United States Code, Section 15, insurrection, if nobody else is enforcing the laws of the state or the nation, then it's up to the military to do it. And nobody is enforcing the laws because we can't get them enforced. So it's the military's fault. Well, it's theirs to fix. We're going to say, hey, no one else is doing it. You need to fix it. Well, how do you file a complaint? Persons have several ways to bring complaints to the attention of the appropriate civil liberties point of contact. Whatever, at the end of the day, because the military loves our acronyms, right? It's the Civil Liberties Point of Contact, the POC. And that could be the Army Inspector General system. It could be the Office of the Staff Judge Advocate or supporting legal advisor. It could be the local chaplain. It could be a supervisor. Well, there's 4 different ways to file a complaint. However, complaints filed with the Army IG will be processed as IG action requests in accordance with Army Regulation AR 20-1 instead of under procedures outlined in this enclosure. And so you can go Google Army Regulation AR 20-1 and you'll find the Inspector General's activities and procedures, and it will tell you exactly how they're going to process a complaint, and you can audit what they do. Complaints should be initiated with the local IG, and the Army IG website provides the locations and telephone numbers of the nearest office. In addition, the site offers information about filing complaints by telephone, regular mail, or email. The complaint form linked to the site is a helpful way to organize information even if the individual is making a complaint by telephone or in person. Personally identified information on a complaint and alleged violators is kept confidential in the IG network to the greatest extent possible. And, because we can, so I went and I looked at, my state, Michigan National Guard. Inspector General, right? What'd you do? Well, I Googled Inspector General, Michigan National Guard, and found the Michigan National Guard Inspector General. And it says, to complain without fear of reprisal is the right of any soldier, airman, civilian, or family member seeking the help of the Inspector General. After all, problem solving is the Inspector General mission. Oh, that's who they mean by the Inspector General and the Inspector General Act. They don't mean all the different ones that are in executive offices. They mean the Inspector General of the military. I guess. We're going to find out. Our mission, to provide the Adjutant General a continuing assessment of the matters related to the state of the economy, efficiency, morale, esprit de corps, and readiness of units and activities assigned to the Michigan National Guard. Yada, yada, yada. So anyways, this is the this is who you would give your complaint to. We have provided the following checklist if you determine you have an IG appropriate complaint. Be sure you have a problem, not just a peeve. Are the cooks turning out lousy chow, or is it just one bad meal? Give your chain of command a chance to solve the problem. Many problems may be addressed by chain of command, blah, 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 blah. Okay, they're gearing it towards the military, but that isn't what we want them for. We want them to file a civil liberties complaint. So, go back over here now. Soldiers who believe their privacy or civil liberties may have been violated may seek legal assistance from the Office of the Staff Judge Advocate. There's another way. In the case of an issue regarding religious matters, soldiers and civilian employees may seek advice and support from their organization's chaplain. I'm sure you could talk to the chaplain. Well, what's going to happen? Each Army Command, Army Service Command, Direct Reporting Unit must assign a command civil liberties point of contact. They call that the POC. Individuals believing their privacy or civil liberties have been violated by some action of the Army or one of its members should contact the POC. Upon receipt of notification of a complaint, the command POC will notify the chain of command that the complaint has been made. If an individual first notifies a legal assistance attorney, equal employment opportunity, equal opportunity representative, or chaplain of a potential violation, the command civil liberties POC will be notified of the potential allegation while ensuring that the confidentiality is maintained. So who's the civil liberties POC? Everybody has one, apparently, and it should be the Inspector General's office in most cases, but not every place is going to have an Inspector General's office there. So who is it there that you would take it to the Inspector General? If the complaint does not allege a violation of privacy or civil liberties, the command point of contact will advise the complainant that the decision in writing and direct the complainant to an alternate means of redress. So if the complaint does not allege a violation of privacy or civil liberties, the command POC will advise the complainant of that decision in writing and direct the complainant to alternate means of redress. So make sure that you say it's a violation of your civil liberties. You just alleged that it is. You stated the claim upon which relief can be granted. Oh, I don't know. I've got to read all these things. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. It's just, well, how do you do it? Once a complaint, redress of complaints. When a violation of privacy or civil liberties has occurred, the command or organization will take immediate action to remediate and correct the violation. Or, if that is not possible, prevent its reoccurrence. Well, I said immediate, so it shouldn't take long to get an answer if they're going to do it. I mean, this should be immediate. Once a complaint has been thoroughly investigated, has received a final legal review by the servicing SGA legal advisor, and any necessary remedial or corrective action has been taken, the matter is closed. Outstanding. I like it when they're short like that. Okay. I'll tell you what, let me go through this one real quick. I don't know if I showed you this one yet or not, but these people have their own website. That's all I wanted to show. I hit the wrong button. And I may have already shown this, but I was doing this video and I had to stop, and so I'm redoing it now, and I don't really remember what I've already said. It'd be a hoot to listen to. There they are. Right? Defense, Privacy, and Civil Liberties Division. Those people, this website, is who this document here is talking about. Civil liberties are fundamental rights and freedoms protected by the Constitution of the United States. These freedoms, which include the right of privacy, are concentrated primarily in the Bill of Rights. Other civil liberties include free speech, assembly, press, religion. Click here for more. Well, how many do you need? I can make everything just a matter of due process. If somebody's serving a piece of paper and trying to take my money, well, it's a matter of due process because they're not using your proper name. And you can only sue or be sued in your proper name. That's how it's supposed to work. But, right now, if you were to look at your passport or other documents, you'll see your name is backwards. It's Rytlewski, Robert Allen, not Robert Allen Rytlewski. On some documents, like on my tax form and on the stub of my Social Security card, it's Robert A. Rytlewski, the middle initial man, right? He's the taxpayer. And so they have your name backwards like it is on a tombstone. It's like you're in state. You're dead. They killed your prophet. We're going to bring, we need to breathe some life back into them. The Department of Defense is committed to the protection of civil liberties and privacy of DoD employees, members of the military, and the public. Excellent. That means everybody. Right? And so here, if you got a complaint, you write a letter and you mail it to, because it says mail, don't fax, don't email, don't phone, mail to the Office of the Secretary of Defense. It's going to the top. Right? It's to the Office of the Secretary of Defense. Office of the Deputy Chief Management Officer. Attention, Chief, Defense, Privacy, and Civil Liberties Division. Someplace in the Pentagon. And you need to give them your name, your address, your phone number, your email address, preferred method of contact, when you'd like to be contacted, contact information, and information about your complaint. That'd be like the date and location, the information about the person, explain which civil liberty or privacy has been violated, or was violated. Well, that's when it's good to know what you don't need to know them. You just need to know where to go find the Bill of Rights. And if you want an easy one to remember, this is just for me. It's like, well, I'm going to pick the easiest one to remember, and that's going to be, it's all about due process. Amendment 5, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on presentment of an indictment or grant of a grand jury, except in the case arising in land or naval forces or in the militia. See, so this is like, well, technically any male younger than 49, I think between the age of 17 and 49, is considered in the militia. So, they're trying to make it like you're in the militia, I guess. I don't know what game they're playing. But when in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject to the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. So they can't condemn your property without paying you off. Right? So without due process, nobody can take your life, liberty, or property. And what's due process? If they're not using your full legal name to sue you, well, it's lack of due process. See, what they want to do is they want you to agree that your Social Security account number is under the name of your middle initial name, not yours. Like your card may have your full legal name on it. It's probably in uppercase because it's really your estate. That's your property. It's not you, but it's a mirror of you in your proper name as its owner. So uppercase name is just your property and you're the owner. But what they did is they took that property and they put it in the name with your middle initial and said he's the owner. And so they clouded the title to your property. And well, here, hang on. I think it's worth showing. So give me just a second here. Okay. Hey, this is interesting all on its own. So it's a good time to shoot. Hang on just a second. Okay, so I got this in the mail just here in the last week. It's like, perfect. Actually, this is what I had planned on writing my complaint to the National Guard about. So this came from the IRS, and it says Robert A. Rytlewski. Well, that isn't me, but they want it to be me. But that isn't me. But they do say over here, right, Social Security number. And they have my Social Security number. Robert Allen Rytlewski's Social Security number, 374-506-794. And they, whoever they are at the IRS, say that number belongs to Robert A. Rytlewski. And that's a lie. Right? Somebody stole my identity if that's what they believe. And so I said that's a violation of due process. They're not charging me in my proper name, yet they're using my property. As you can see, this is for taxes from 2003, amount due $5,000 or something. And they don't really bother me too much about it, but they do send me a piece of paper once a year. Right? What's this thing say? Annual reminder, overdue taxes for 2003. I believe it actually means I have that much waiting for me, and I need to collect it somehow. I just never figured out how to do that. But so this is what I'm going to complain, or probably be that I use as my complaint for the National Guard, because they say Robert A. Rytlewski is the owner of that Social Security number. Now, where would they get such an idea? Well, this is the craziness, right? I'm lucky enough to have the stub that comes off of your Social Security card. And so your card is elsewhere, and this is the stub. And this stub has a front and a back. And on the back it says, detach this portion from the upper half of the card and keep it in a safe place. Well, thank you, Mother, for doing so. Your name and Social Security number Social Security account number appear on the other side. Other side of what? Of this stub. And on the other side of this stub is my Social Security number with Robert A. Rytlewski. Well, that is not my name, and that isn't what my mom and dad would have put on an SS5. And if you were to ask them for your SS5 when they send it to you, it's going to have your proper name on it, Robert Allen Rytlewski. No, they did it themselves. They lie, cheat, and steal. And they fucking stole your property. They clouded the title to your property. It's what they do. Right? And so in the Social Security record, it shows the owner as Robert A. Rytlewski. Well, this says here for Social Security and tax purposes. And sure enough, that's the name they want you to claim to be on your taxes. And I just have to say you're incorrect. No, that Social Security account is my property. And you've clouded the title, and that's a violation of due process, and I'm going to file a complaint against Social Security. You know, it's a matter of figuring out the words. Another example is on your passport, where they put your name backwards, Rytlewski, Robert Allen. That's the way it will show up on your tombstone, just like that. Or here in Michigan, they've used your all caps on your operator's license. And so, there you are, man. That's what we're dealing with. And they think it's okay. What are you complaining about? Well, you know, what they depend on is us never figuring out where to go to, because we keep going to the stupid-ass court with the dude in the black robe who's committing the crime and think he's going to give us a remedy. And so I advocate, if you're going to do anything, send it to the chief judge, mail a complaint to the chief judge that they're committing a crime in his courtroom while he's upstairs eating Cheetos or whatever the chief judge does, because they don't sit in courtrooms, they administer the courts. So tell them his people are messing up. And I did a video not too long ago that in two different cases where I did that, in both cases there was a dismissal. Not for anything I said in my letter, but in one case they said that Rosita was not guilty. Well, if you're not guilty, it means you're guilty. Case closed. Let her go. Gave her back all her money. And they held a little bit, right? Because they just can't do it all. To me, it's like they can't admit that they made a mistake, right? Or that their whole system of cards would just crash because they're living on the edge of a lie every day. So, okay, so here's one way, right? Is to write your complaint to the office of the Secretary of the Defense. Da 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 da. And you can find that on this website right here. Call them and ask them what to do. That's one way to do it. Okay, give me a second again. Okay, and because I'm doing it, just a couple other lies that they have out there, right? Where this is called a certified copy of record of birth. It's got a big-ass gold court seal on it that says Circuit Court of Bay County, Michigan on it. Seal. But it says the name is Rytlewski, Robert Allen. And that's the way it would show up in a docket, and that's the way it shows up on my passport. I believe that's the way it shows up in my DD-214, the way it shows up in my discharge papers. And I was just talking to a gal in Cynthia down in Florida this last week who's talking about doing a name change. And I said, well, I think this is the name you need to change, Cynthia. And so she's going to go down and hopefully try to get a name change and say, take the name backwards and put it proper and get rid of that. Right? And get rid of Rytlewski, Robert Allen and have Robert Allen Rytlewski, or her name in her case, obviously. But that's the name change that needs to be made, right? If you're going to change your name, change that one. Well, while you're at it, change the one with the middle initial, too. I've never looked at the form or what they want you to do, but I do know, as I just showed you, they use your middle initial also, and change that thing to your proper name. Robert Allen Rytlewski, but hopefully in proper case, not uppercase. This here, to me, is the name of your estate. Right? And you in your proper case are its owner. So there's that thing, and then, another big lie, right, on your certificate of live birth, which they consider to be a death certificate, one of those wonderful little things that somebody said to somebody one day in a office without knowing who they were talking to. It says here that date received by local registrar, September 18th, 1958. Well, I was born on September 5th, 1958, and if we do the math, that would mean it took 13 days before it was received by the local registrar. Now, if you read Michigan's vital statistic law, it will tell you that the state registrar has to be notified within 5 days by the local registrar of the event. 5 days of the event. Not 5 days after he gets it, but 5 days of the event. Well, apparently that didn't happen because this guy didn't get it till the 13th. And so therefore, you were never properly registered into the United States of America, the state of Michigan, the de jure republic. Oh, it was an error or an omission. Sorry, forgive us. Right, and boom, they put you in, and they, Shanghaied your ass and took you out of the republic and put you in the democracy. It made you Rutlusky, Robert Allen, or your version of it. That's what we're dealing with. Right, it's a satanic system. Get over it. Okay, hang on here. Make sure I push right. And because I love my military manuals, we're going to go to National Guard Regulation 500-5, which is National Guard Domestic Law Enforcement Support and Mission Assurance Operations. Okay, hey, it has something to do with, supporting the domestic law enforcement. I wonder if we can use that to our advantage. So what's the purpose? Well, the introduction, it says define National Guard capabilities for domestic law enforcement support and mission assurance operations. Okay, would be a good reason to read it. And then it goes through and tells who all these players are, because there is this entity called the National Guard Bureau, and there's a gentleman called the Chief National Guard Bureau. He's actually a general. Sorry, sir. Chief National Guard Bureau. And they got a director of the Army National Guard Bureau. And they got a director of the Air National Guard. And they got an adjutant general. And they got director of the Joint Staff National Guard Bureau. And National Guard Bureau Provost Marshal. And National Guard Bureau J-34 Division Chief. Got lots of different players, all having to do with them and their ability to participate in domestic law enforcement. State policy. State laws and policies govern the use of National Guard soldiers and airmen in support of domestic law enforcement, support, and mission assurance operations while serving in state active duty and U.S. Code Title 32 status. But they have a dual status, so if they can't do that, well, then we'll do it under U.S. Code Title 10, Chapter 18, Military Support for Civilian Law Enforcement Agencies. And so this is what we got here. So the National Guard, Chapter 4, Authorities and Restrictions. The National Guard maintains a unique dual status with both state and federal roles and missions. This dual status is rooted in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. The Constitution placed the responsibility of organizing, arming, and disciplining the militia upon Congress and reserved the training according to the discipline prescribed by Congress to the states. These constitutionally based dual roles and missions resulted in each guardsman holding membership in either the Army or Air National Guard of his or her state and also the Army or Air National Guard of the United States. So there you are. They're either in the Army of your state or the Army of the United States, and we want them in the Army of our state. The U.S. Code describes the unique dual status as in federal service, Title 10. And when not in federal service, Title 32. Federal service is codified in Title 10, while not in federal service is codified in Title 32. I guess you look at Title 10, Title 32 to tell you what you need to know. Hence, the National Guard and the several states may perform state roles and missions in either state activity or state active duty of Title 32 status, while only performing their federal training and ancillary federal missions in Title 32 status. while only performing their federal training and ancillary federal mission. Okay, so they don't ever leave their Title 32 status. Purely federal role and mission performed as a reserve of the armed forces, i.e. Army National Guard of the United States, are performed in Title 10 status. I guess we don't need to know all that. We just need to know, if I give you a complaint, will you do something with it? Authorities of the National Guard operations in state activity or state active duty status. Unlike federal active duty and Federal Reserve forces, such as Army and Air Force Reserve, all National Guard personnel and equipment remain accessible to the governor for state and local emergencies, unless otherwise provided by law. States are free to employ the National Guard forces under state control for state purposes and at state expenses as provided in the state's constitution and statutes. As such service is performed in accordance with state law, National Guard members performing this type of duty are said to be state active duty status, meaning that command and control rests solely with the governor and the state or territorial government, and that the state government bears all of the associated cost. In accordance with Title 32, National Guard may be ordered to perform other duty to respond to domestic emergencies or other needs. So all we're going to try to do is get them to work for us. In accordance with the Insurrection Act, that would be 10 U.S.C. subsections 331 to 335 and 10 U.S.C. 12406, the President may call into federal service members and units of the National Guard of any state in such numbers as he considers necessary whenever the United States or any of its territories, commonwealths, possessions is invaded or is in danger of invasion by a foreign national. There is a rebellion or danger of a rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States, or the President is unable with regular forces to execute the laws of the United States to repel the invasion, suppress the rebellion, or execute those laws. And that's the problem. Nobody's executing the laws of the United States. They're just pretending to do it. Because all the people that are supposed to have been appointed by the President per the Constitution haven't been appointed according to law. They don't have a certificate of appointment signed by the President. Right? Now, somebody may have something they hang on their wall like a shingle, but where is the notary book that shows that this came through as an official record of the United States? It doesn't exist. If it did, it would be in the Federal Register, because that's where all the President's proclamations and so forth are. And there's nothing in there. And so no officers of the United States, and I think that's Article 2, Section 3, the very last sentence talks about commissioning, that the President shall commission all officers of the United States. Well, the civil officers haven't been properly commissioned because they don't have a certificate of appointment. And that's, don't have to be any more difficult than that. The dual status commander will receive orders from federal chain of command and state chain of command. Okay, going to get all sorts of orders, and somebody's going to tell them what to do. The Tort Act comes in because this says federal sovereign immunity provides a limited waiver of the federal government's sovereign immunity when its employees are negligent within the scope of their employment. And that would be like the district court judges and the magistrate judges at the federal court who are using a fictitious name instead of their proper name and are denying you due process. They have a duty to defend your rights. You don't have to know them. They have to do it. They allow this shit to happen in their courtroom with a gold fringe flag that is the symbol of the nation in the courtroom. Well, that would mean they're involved in an insurrection or rebellion, and the military has a duty to defend your civil liberties from them. Rules of engagement. Rules of engagement generally do not apply to the National Guard forces conducting domestic law enforcement support missions. National Guard forces follow rules of use of force. I wonder what the difference is. Use of force by members of the National Guard serving in state duty status under Title 32 will be governed by state law, usually criminal law. Oh, they're going to follow the criminal statutes. Okay. Rules for the use of force will be developed by state staff judge advocate in accordance with state law. Now, I've shown the Michigan, what they call it, Chapter 750, the Penal Code, and talks about simulated legal process and it being a crime. Right? So if they're going to enforce the state penal code, well, outstanding. Now, we don't need to point that out, that it's a penal code violation. We need to just say it's a violation of our civil liberties, and they can figure out what to charge it as. Because it's a violation of due process. Oh, excuse me. So, located in over 3,000 local communities throughout the nation, readily accessible, routinely exercised with local first responders, and experienced in supporting neighborhood communities, the National Guard is particularly well suited for domestic law enforcement support missions. Now, isn't that interesting? They use the 3,000 local communities as their identifier, and that's what they say is the number of counties in the United States. You know, somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 local counties. So each county is a community. So each district is a community, or is a county. So Kent County, in another jurisdiction, is some district that a National Guard unit has jurisdiction over. Located in over 3,000 local communities throughout the nation, readily accessible, routinely exercised with first responders and experienced in supporting neighborhood communities, the National Guard is particularly well suited for domestic law enforcement support missions. This regulation, along with others in the NGR 500 series, regulations establish the requirements and defines the standards of National Guard support to domestic law enforcement operations. I don't know that I want to read any more of this. Okay, well, you're getting the hint, right? That the idea is going to be to go to the National Guard, and again, this is National Guard Regulation 500-5, National Guard, Domestic Law Enforcement Support and Mission Assurance Operations. Hang on, I'm going to read, I think, maybe one more. Okay, this is from the Chief, National Guard Bureau Instruction. Department of Defense, National Guard Bureau, Civil Liberties Program. Oh, has some other ones for reference. Cancellation none. Applicability. This instruction applies to all elements of the NG. I believe NG, we'll find out, means National Guard. Yep, National Guard, NG, Civil Liberties Program, in accordance with IAW, references A and B. So, policy of the NG, it is the NG policy to operate the Civil Liberties Program through the Office of the National Guard Bureau Chief Counsel, Information and Privacy Office. Protect the privacy and civil liberties of Department of Defense employees, members of military service, and the public, consistent with operational requirements. They have a duty to defend the flag. They have a duty to defend the Constitution. That's what's being violated. They're called your civil liberties. Yeah, they're 100% engaged. Prohibit reprisals against individuals who disclose information to privacy or civil liberties or civil liberty officers, indicating a possible violation of privacy protections or civil liberties within programs and operations of the federal government. Well, that'd be like the Witness Protection Program. Because you're a witness now. You're not a defendant. You have the highest office in the court. You're the witness. Ensure the following rights and freedoms are protected. Well, that would be the First Amendment. How about the Second Amendment? The Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the 19th Amendment. What does that mean? We're not doing the ones in between? No, it just means they're giving you examples. Definitions, civil liberties, fundamental rights and freedoms protected by the Constitution of the United States. call it what they want it called. Call it civil liberties. And tell them to protect them. Provide guidance. That's really all there was in that one. Okay. Hey, we're almost done. Maybe one more. Okay. Just one more, I think. So Army Regulation 20-1, that would be the Inspector General's activities and procedures. And all these are pretty easy to find. You just need to Google them and look for something that says PDF, and you probably on the PDF that's going to, take you to the procedure. And what I wanted to show you on this thing was they actually take another oath, right? These are people that already have taken an oath. Now they're going to take another oath. Significance of the oath. Officers, warrant officers, NCOs, and DA civilians serving as IGs and administrative support staff will take the IG oath. The oath exists in 3 variations. Detailed or assistant IG, temporary assistant IG, and acting IG. The core language is the same in each oath, or for each oath. The only difference is the nature of the individual's IG duty that prefaces the core language. The oath remains all IG personnel, regardless of category, of the special trust and confidence inherent in their positions. The oath certificates. The Inspector General of all categories who graduate the U.S. Army Inspector General School will receive an IG oath certificate as part of their graduating packet. That's how you'll know you're talking to one. And this is what they look like. Having been assigned as an Inspector General, do solemnly swear or affirm that I accept the special obligations and responsibilities of that position freely, and that I will uphold the standards for Inspector General prescribed by regulations, and that I will, without prejudice or particularity, discharge the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter. So help me God. Inspector General, sworn in recognition of special trust and honor by order of the Secretary of the Army. Well, that's pretty dang good. Right now, I don't know what all that means, but hey, at least they took one more oath than most people have. And I believe they probably take it really serious, and, well, we're going to find out. So the idea is to go to the, to take your simple complaint to the Inspector General, and then if they, because now it's into the military, if they feel it's necessary to use the Central Violation Bureau, option B, Central Violation Bureau, the video I did, which the military can do. They can send the complaint there. So maybe that's what we need to do, because we've tried to take it to the CVB directly and, having some pushback. And so, okay, it doesn't mean we have that they won't take it. It just shouldn't come from us, right? We didn't go to the first step. We're trying to go to step 2. We got to go back and do step 1. Step 1 is submit a complaint as a civil liberties violation to one of the various places that I've shown that you can, or you find on your own. But at the end of the day, the simplest one may be the Inspector General's office of your state's National Guard. That's what I plan on doing between now and, well, by the end of Christmas, and then in between Christmas and New Year's, I'll probably have sent it. Unless I can get it done in a day or so, but, it just depends on when the words come. But if you've already sent something somewhere to, like, the chief judge or to the CVB, or you're thinking of doing such a thing and you just want to do something simple, send it to these guys. Right? Or call them and ask them a question. I don't claim to be the answer man. I'm just, throwing things against the wall, see what sticks. But at the end of the day, I'm going to state a complaint. I state a claim upon which relief can be granted. So state that your civil liberties have been violated. Take judicial notice that I, Robert Allen Rutluski, state that my civil liberties protected by the Constitution of the United States Bill of Rights are being violated. I just stated a claim. I just stated a claim. I have included a copy of whatever it is, summons, notice, demand, warrant, etc., that denies my Fifth Amendment right to due process. Why is that? Well, because they're not going to be using proper names. So some individual using a fictitious name for himself, an alleged client, has begun a simulated legal process under color of state law in an attempt to extort my life, liberty, and private property. For the record, my full legal name is Robert Allen Rytlewski, and in this name only may I sue and be sued. The use of any other pseudonym, nickname, legal fiction, or the like as a substitute for my full legal name is a violation of my civil liberties, and I ask for an investigation and complete remedy and equity. That's what I'm going to go with. We'll see what happens. Okay, you all have a great Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, and God bless everyone. We'll see you.